Shaken by their encounter with the new gods, Wednesday and Shadow head to Virginia to recruit the old forge himself, Vulcan. And Sweeney and Laura pick up a third on their little journey, creating what is starting to feel like a very twisted version of the Wizard of Oz. It's American Gods, Season 1, Episode 6. A Murder of Gods. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of American Gods. So yes, as usual, lots of spoilers ahead. And real quick, before I get into this review proper, I want to take a moment and just say thank you to everyone. My last review has like more views faster than anything that I have done before. And I've got a lot of new subscribers and a lot of just wonderful, very nice comments in the section below about what we talk about and the in-depthness and everything else, and just very kind words. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video, for sharing it if you did, for checking me out and joining the group here. I just want to take this moment and just say thank you so much. I really do enjoy this show. It's really a pleasure to be able to share ideas with you guys and the discussions that we have, and that so many of you jumped in and checked this out. It really warms my heart. So I really needed to take a moment and just say thank you so much, everyone. All right, so that being said, let us dive into things. Now this week, I thought we had a great episode in the sense of really diving in and talking about these concepts of religion, of belief, of faith, of the power of gods. We really got to dive into a lot of the meat of this. Wednesday did a great explanation into the whole bit that we had with Vulcan there, describing the power of guns and bullets and his power with that. I thought was a really just a very succinct breakdown of the belief system and how everything manifests here, these thought form powers that is really central to the book and the concepts that we're looking at here. So it starts out in its way kind of giving us, again, more of our insights. We have a lot of the coming to America. It's a big recurring theme throughout this, as we're seeing people journeying from the old world into the new world and the sort of melting pot that America is. And here we have people crossing the border. It felt sort of like the Rio Grande from Mexico into the United States. And we have our prayers to Jesus before we go in, which of course that we are going to do because it is a dangerous journey. And those prayers are answered. Now, first of all, this is good advice for anybody that doesn't know how to swim yet. Go learn how to swim. There are basic things you got to know. You got to know how to swim. You got to know how to ride a bike. You got to know how to drive a stick shift. These are just requirements for life that if anything goes wrong, if you got to cross a river, you need to know how to swim. These are just basic skills that we should all develop. And for our one sad crosser there, does not know to swim, sinking down into the depths. But of course, if you don't know how to swim, at the very least, you've got Jesus, because he will save you. And a beautiful shot. I have to say, the shot of we just have the feet walking across the water amidst everyone else submerged and down there, very cool. The half-submerged people with Jesus, the feet of Jesus, walking across the front. I thought that was beautiful. So it looks like we had everyone make it until they get ambushed by what I'm assuming are citizen border guards. The kingdom written very prominently on all of their weapons. And here we kind of get dealing with a lot more of the power of the gods. We have, of course, the prayer to Jesus before they cross. That is kind of a direct feed. But we also have the blood sacrifices. It's something that Vulcan hits on later on. He talks about both blood sacrifices and mentions to Wednesday you could always sacrifice yourself. but that is also a form of strength. And I think right here we have Jesus, or the Latin Jesus. I'm assuming we were mentioning that there's a lot of Jesuses, Jesus, is that the plural of Jesus? In the world, because there's a lot of people praying to Jesus. We got the white Jesus, we got the black Jesus, we got the Middle Eastern Jesus, we got the Latino Jesus. I'm assuming that's who this is. My guess it's not just the Jesus of crossing the border. That this is sort of a wider figure. But not only does he get power from the prayers and then, of course, showing up and helping them across, thus increasing the belief, increasing the power that they are given, but also with the sacrifice that he does, because not only does Jesus help, does Jesus save, but Jesus protects. Jesus sacrifices himself. So before we have the wife get killed, Jesus steps in front, takes the bullet, very appropriate kind of stigmata shot to the arms there, and into the chest, the Sacred Heart of Jesus. So as he drops down in the big Jesus pose, that is a sacrifice. That type of sacrificing himself also contributing to his power. He is giving his life for those around. Of course, he doesn't die. You can see we had the little glow in the heart right there. But these are the different types of ways that power is perpetuated in with the gods, not only by the prayers, but the direct actions that they can have and the sacrifices that they can give. Whether or not the murder from the guards, the border there people, with the kingdom always being kind of associated with Jesus and the kingdom of heaven. If that is some other secondary thing, I would hate to think that that is another group that Jesus is getting power from, but that would be really kind of creepy. But the fact that they do kill him and thus he is able to sacrifice himself for his people, also another way of giving power. And of course, power is sort of what, I don't know, Shadow and Wednesday are running from for the moment. But we do get to find out about the big tree that we saw last week. That is Mr. Wood. Mr. Wood, a very, very ancient god, if I was able to hear. There's a lot of mumbling in the show, so it's sometimes hard to understand what everyone's talking about. But appears to be Mr. Wood. And that's kind of an interesting idea there, too, is because he says Mr. Wood is a very ancient god. He was one of the first gods. There's an empty part in every man's heart that is waiting for a god, and trees were the first to fill it. So we've got a very ancient god, and what this god saw was a God-fearing society now moving towards heavy industrialization, basically stepping away from the natural world. And what Wednesday says there is, thus he made a deal. He saw what was going on and he made a deal. So this is someone else, another one of the ancient gods that seems to have gotten sucked and pulled into the idea of what the new gods are. They are selling a very strong image. They're selling strength to those that are seeing them lose it. As Vulcan says later on, he was a tale that parents had forgotten to tell their children. He was something that was starting to drift off into the memory. So that's apparently something that Mr. Wood did right here, and now that he seems to be working for the new gods. And is hopefully out of shadow. Very cool scene, very nice moment kind of between him and Wednesday, at least showing Wednesday having some powers, having these abilities to do things. I thought that was really kind of nicely done. But all of that really is heading us into Vulcan, Virginia, the hometown of Vulcan Industries, which is a massive arms manufacturer, or more specifically, a bullet manufacturer. They manufacture all of the rounds. And while it does seem that initially Vulcan is very happy to see our Mr. Wednesday, that is a ruse. That is a ruse. Shadow feels it pretty much straight off, and I like the idea that Wednesday isn't entirely comfortable with it. While their greeting does seem to be very cordial, certainly Shadow looking up at the tree and seeing the imagery of lynching, which is way too familiar for him, is definitely going to make him a bit nervous. Also, be honestly, a black man in the midst of a heavily armed southern white town, yeah, you're going to be nervous. But that does clue in Wednesday as well. Even just looking at the wine, the plentifulness of his winery. All of everything easily flowing. This is not something that Wednesday is expecting to see, especially since you just had the god of death, Chernobog, living in a rundown apartment, killing cattle with a bolt gun, and staying with the 3 Russian star sisters there. Things aren't really working out well for him. Vulcan, things would be working out very well, and it's his associations with firearms, very strong in American culture, and that is definitely going to give some strength. The intro to that, when we have Wednesday talking about what America is, I thought was also really kind of interesting. It's cluing in again to a lot of this personal belief system that is reiterated over and over again. The idea that these people see America one way, that everybody sees America in their own certain way. And people will be willing to fight and be willing to sacrifice in order to hold on to that vision or to preserve that vision. And when we have a town that is overrun with basically the worship of firearms, and definitely given the god power with every trigger that is pulled, that is quite a sway. Also seems to be, I mean, you've got to have a dedicated group, because with the blood sacrifices going on to Vulcan, what he says, a couple of times a year a railing gives way and someone falls into the forge. A couple times a year and people are still working at this factory. I was working there, I wouldn't go near a railing any day. But perhaps that is the enthrallment that we have in with the idea of gods. We believe so much in the guns. We believe so much in the power of the firearm to protect our freedom. We're willing to risk our own sacrifice in order to preserve it. So it does, again, set up that very strong idea of the belief system really does forge one's entire reality. All right, so the big forge scene, well, first off, beautifully done. Getting down into the forge with all of the red light and shadow around everyone. I mean, felt very Vulcan, felt very ancient. Beautiful sword being made. But really we have, I think, like I said, one of the best straightforward explanations from the show of what the power of worship is. And also how obsessive that is. It's not just the power of a volcano in your hand. With every shot, it warms you, and you can feel that warmth on your hip glowing and keeping you fresh. I mean, all of the imagery was powerful, but as it falls into all of the blood sacrifices that are associated with firearms, as we are, if you turn on the news, we are all very well. And he embraces it. Every shot inside of a theater is a prayer to me. And those prayers reinforce. With every shot, people want it more. It is the strange attraction and power that we have with firearms, and is really what Vulcan is hitting on. With every shot, people just want it more. If you hit someone you love, then people want revenge. If you shoot someone across the street, then people are going to be fearful that they might get shot and therefore want more and more of it. And with every shot, with every power, with every purchase, that is more power that is going towards Vulcan. It was just beautifully put. Though I think he had phrased it out himself even before we got to the whole forge scene, the moment that he had mentioned that how he had franchised his power. Remember how much terminology is something that the new gods were holding on to there. That it's all about the phrases. It's not a takeover, it's a merger, it's a partnership. We're having you packaged and you know, reset and distributed out. The minute you say the franchise, that is a new god phrase. So I think the moment that Wednesday had heard that, he started to become suspicious. At least Vulcan was straightforward when Wednesday did ask him. But of course he had just made Wednesday a very nice god-killing sword. And that signs the end of Vulcan. Kind of unexpected. Wasn't expecting to see him take him right out. And I think that is the first god that we have seen fall. So not that difficult of a thing, especially with the right weapon and by surprise. And then Wednesday follows that up with a curse, pissing all into the molten forge there, and now cursing all of the bullets, everything that is produced thus afterwards. One, he's making his own statement, certainly reflecting back in with the new gods. But I am honestly really curious to see. I think that is going to come back around at some point. Is maybe we get a bunch of those cursed bullets firing back at our group, and that's maybe is because they're cursed, they're not going to hit them. They're not going to do any damage. I think that might be something we'll see down the road. Then, of course, we have Sweeney and Laura and Salim really taking up the rest of this episode. And their story is really really about moving on, about moving forward. We have Salim, who is coming into the group searching for the djinn that gave him a new life. He is more than happy to have passed away his old life and is appreciative of what he has now. And that is something that Sweeney keeps kind of reminding Laura about, is that Laura is holding on too much to her past life, her past expectations. Yes, you never appreciate anything until it's gone, so certainly she is appreciative of those things that are no longer in her life, but many of these things aren't anything that she liked at all. You know, she's thinking about her parents and her mom and that she's not going to see her again and her family, but she quickly follows that up with, I never liked them, I don't care about them, I hope that they were gone. That was one of my wishes since I was a kid. The idea of holding on to Shadow, that she still has this love for him, despite the fact, as Sweeney also mentions, is she is dead. And that kiss that's got her heart started to go right there for a moment may have really grossed him out if she was cold and dry and tasted like cigarettes. So, as much as Laura enjoys seemingly messing with Sweeney, there is a bond that is starting to form. Now, from Sweeney's point of view, there is a selfish drive to this. He just wants his coin. But seeing as how obsessed that she is with it, that she is going with life, with trying to get back into Shadow, he knows that the only way he's going to get his coin back is to help her get to Shadow, maybe say goodbye, maybe give it up, or possibly do a little bit of resurrection action going on, which was one of the great moments between them when he just mentions Jesus and the whole resurrection. And she's like, did you just name drop Jesus? Yes, because I know a guy that knows a guy, and in fact the guy I know is the guy that's right next to Shadow. So, yeah, through Wednesday, I'm sure Sweeney can track down one of the many Jesuses. So, really, it was kind of a nice bit of episode. Quiet, just cool little moments, especially between Salim and Laura, talking about that appreciation of life. Even that final little moment that he has where he is doing his early morning prayers and he says, you know, God is great. And Laura's response back to him, no, life is great. Yes, life is great. That is what Salim is pursuing, that appreciation and wanting to know more, wanting to be more of a part of it. For Laura, she just needs to kind of cast back those things that are in her past and either get ready to say goodbye or take a different approach towards moving for her future. All right, just a couple of small things here. One, very interesting how concerned about Laura Wednesday is. Despite all of Shadow's stories, the minute that he mentioned that his dead wife came back, that got Wednesday's attention real quick. Certainly inspired him to get out of there as quickly as possible. Sure, fear of the new gods is one thing, but as Laura ran up behind the car, he was very quick at accelerating it, turning on the music, and kind of preventing any chance of Shadow accidentally catching her. So, is it just that Shadow will willingly leave him? Now, he has sort of made a deal. I'm not sure what the rules are that are associated with this. Or is it that Laura presents some other type of threat to Wednesday's ability to work with Shadow? Not sure yet. Is it just the power of the coin? Don't know. But Wednesday's very insistent with Shadow throughout the rest of the episode to try and convince him that she is gone and that he should let her go. So, still very curious to see how all that's going to work itself out. Wednesday's line to Shadow when he pulled out Mr. Wood from him, that religion inspires in those that fear nothing fear of the gods, and using that fear requires a certain element of fucked up. So much to that statement. I loved it. Alright, so I guess like a murder of crows, a group of gods is a murder of gods? According to Leprechauns it is. Thought it kind of interesting that Laura and Salim just happened to have taken Sweeney to the same alligator bar where he first encountered Shadow. Is there something special to that bar? I mean, outside of it looking way super cool with the teeth and the lights and everything. Anyway, just thought that was quite interesting. All right, so I think that's going to wrap things up for us for this week. Now, there are only two episodes left before the end of the season. I don't know if we're going to get to Wisconsin by then. There's a lot more recruitment that's going to have to happen before there is any encounter between the old and new gods. But anyway, we will have to sort of wait and see for that. So, if you did enjoy this review, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, as always, throw them down in the section below. What did you think about this episode? Did you enjoy seeing Vulcan? Did he get his proper comeuppance? And the whole trio there of Salim, Laura, and Sweeney. I hope you guys are enjoying their adventures just as much as I am. Anyway, thoughts, ideas, as usual, throw those down in the section below. Now you can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. But even though there is only 2 more episodes, you don't want to miss those. And if you're a subscriber, you won't miss anything. Be a subscriber. Catch this show, Fear the Walking Dead, just started up. Plus we have Game of Thrones coming up in just about a month. So you won't miss any of that if you're a subscriber. And you can do that by hitting my little picture right there. And you will be in the group. And we will throw up latest review for the premiere Season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead right there, and you can check that out. All right, so that's it for me. I am D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.